Hello, everybody. Welcome back. This is the Creative Collaboration Show. Chuck Anderson here, your host. And this is the show where we help business owners who are on a mission to make a big impact in the world and in enhancing people's lives with their products, their services, and whatever it is that your unique gift is that you're bringing to the world. Now, right now, as you're on that mission, getting the word out about what you're doing, being more productive, doing more with less. Sometimes there's just not enough hours in the day. Also, the landscape of how we do business is changing so rapidly. And since AI has really become the theme of our conversations in the last couple of years, we get a lot of questions here about, what tools should I be using? What strategies should I be implementing, etc. So I wanted to bring back onto the show a previous guest who has really, I think, taken all these AI tools and processes and really fine-tuned them not only in his own business, but with the businesses of his clients, and has developed technology, has co-founded programs, which we're going to tell you about. And so we're going to dive deep into using AI to enhance your business. So my guest today is Jason Van Orden. And Jason, it's a thrill to have you back on. It was a long time ago that we did our previous episode, and so much has changed since then. So welcome back.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's a pleasure to be here. I'm happy to have been invited. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So I think, a great place to start is, give everybody that a high level overview of who you are and what you do. And then we'll kind of dive into the whole AI thing and how that's been going in your business.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned something earlier that resonates with me, and that is helping people get their unique message and gift out there. And there's so many great experts, coaches, consultants, authors, speakers who have a slice of people in the world who they are just uniquely positioned to serve. And I love helping them to reach and impact more of those people, but in a way that doesn't overload their energy and time. That's the challenge of being in an expert-based business, is that you very easily become the main bottleneck in your growth. And so as a growth strategist for coaches and consultants, I help them look at their business model and know what it is that they need to optimize and tweak to unlock that next level of impact and income while reducing their workload and still giving the same level or even better level of results and value to their clients. With AI over the last couple of years injected into that, it's just taken it to a whole new level in terms of time saved and value you can offer. And we'll be getting into all of that, but that's me in a nutshell.
I love it. And, you and I serve very similar people, but in different ways. And I think that's always been the sort of the synergy between both of our businesses. And, and a lot has changed since our last chat, and, in particularly AI. So what was the beginning of your AI journey? Was it more to solve some productivity and workflow issues in your own business, or did you dive right into working with clients on it? Like what was your sort of discovery process like?
Yeah. Well, as a former engineer and programmer, and as a big sci-fi fan, when I first started hearing the whisperings of like a really accessible, easy to use model, ChatGPT was available, I jumped right on experimenting with it. Now, like many people, at first you're like, okay, this is kind of like, it's novel and cool at first. Then you start realizing, well, maybe I'm not getting exactly what I need here. And so then you have like kind of a mixed relationship with AI at first, because you're like, wow, everyone's hyping this up and saying it can create content for you and it can do all these things. And you're like, okay, you're trying to feel it out. Well, that fascination with, that feeling of like, wow, we're suddenly living in the future here, just led me to persist and try out a lot of things and research things and see how others were using it, and talk to my clients about, well, what are you running into that you would love to solve? And then coming back and saying like, how can I help AI do that? And essentially trying to solve that issue of like, okay, like there's so much we can do with AI, but how do you really find those specific use cases that are going to make a really big impact in saving you time and delivering better value and help you get to those results from AI faster, because it understands you and your business inside and out. And so that's been a big part of my journey is like, okay, how do I keep taking how I use AI and teach my clients to use AI to a level where it just feels like this seamless flow of a relationship, like almost like you're working with another version of yourself, or like, some people like to joke about having your own Jarvis, like on Iron Man, right? His Jarvis AI, but it's really getting to that place. And fast forward to today, and I talk to my AI that I fondly call Ada, named after Ada Lovelace, one of the very first programmers, all day long, and think of Ada as like a key advisor and resource in my business. And especially as somebody who in adulthood found out they had ADHD and have learned about all the challenges that come along with that, it's really been significant in also helping me organize thoughts and know what to focus on and stay focused when I need to. So yeah, that's why I'm just so excited about it now, as I've discovered over the last couple of years so many great ways to dial it in and have it really be a useful tool within your business.
I resonate with so much of what you just said, especially that last part about ADHD. I mean, I think a lot of us who are self-employed or business owners or entrepreneurs have some form of focus and attention issues.
Yeah. And it's not easy working by yourself, right? And you're just at home, like doing your thing. And sometimes it's like, oh, it can, just on your own, it can be tough.
Exactly, exactly. And, it's interesting because I've had conversations with others. They're like, because we'll recommend some tool or some process, and you could just feel the overwhelm. Like you can just, there's like, oh, when am I gonna, get to that? But what, to your point is, what if you could use it to be less overwhelmed? What if you could to be more focused and where you really didn't have to feel that way? So it's not like this new thing you have to sort of learn, but how do you kind of use it to make your life easier, right? And so, yeah. What are you hearing from some of the people that you're working with? What are some of the when they're first coming to you, what are some of the struggles? What are some of the questions that they're having? I mean, where are they at in their business?
Specifically around AI and how they're and having it.
Yeah, or just even the struggles in their bit, like maybe they had specific questions about AI, but maybe you're the one introducing that to them. But what's the challenge that they're
Right.
coming to you with?
Yeah. So often the clients that I'm working with, or just the people that follow my content, they're at a place in their business where they're working with clients, delivering great value, and they know they could be like helping so many more people, but they're also feeling like, well, I can't just work harder and work more. And, sure, like referrals have gotten me this far and networking's gotten me this far, but they have that feeling it's like, well, but what's gotten me here isn't necessarily what's going to get me there. So clearly I need to shift something in how I'm doing what I'm doing, whether that's my messaging, the systems for my marketing and sales, or the offers that I'm putting out there in order to create more capacity for impact and income. And so usually it's in one of those three categories. Their messaging isn't dialed in enough. Like it works fine for like referrals and networking and being known within their sphere, but now they're at a level, it's like you need to be reaching what I call like audience level awareness about your value. And so you've got to have that really refined messaging that cuts through the noise and quickly gets the right people to lean in and go like, I have not heard it said like this before. So that then now you can kind of lay out your case and the nurture system of why they want to work with you. So that's one big thing. Another big thing is that they realize that there's kind of a boom and bust maybe in their sales, and they're like, it feels like there's holes in the system, but I'm not sure what to add or fix or whatever. And usually what I point out to them is like, yeah, it's not your fault. What's worked, again, got you here is working great. But the problem is like, we all know, hey, you want to get the right people on the phone to close them. And we want to be visible to bring new people in that could potentially work with us. And everything that happens in between is like this black box. It's like, I don't know, like I put my booking link out there sometimes, or give my 10-second pitch. It's like, but how do you dependably identify who's ready to work with you and get those people on the phone or whatever your sales process is without wasting their time, without wasting your time? And so that's another thing, is just like more consistent sales systems and processes that feel good to them, because that's one reason they haven't tightened it up, is they resist it. They're like, oh, sales, it just doesn't feel good. I don't want to be one of those salespeople. So I was talking about like, hey, we're going to make sales feel like an act of service and really leverage your strengths to, in a natural way, bring the right people through. So that's the second, is just places, those marketing and sales systems that create a seamless and welcoming customer journey. And then the third place is in their offers and making it more scalable. A lot of experts work one-on-one with clients and do amazing work that way. But again, you only sell so much of your time and energy. So how do we repackage your expertise in a way that allows that to become the thing that people are focused on and using? And you don't always have to be like on the phone every moment to make sure that things are progressing, or, be the one to always teach or guide through that key principle or idea. So it's about restructuring their offers, their knowledge as signature methods and frameworks, and then the way that they deliver value to their clients so that it's just as good or even often even better value being delivered. They can work with more clients, but they're finding that they can put less of their personal time in while still excelling at what they do. So those are the three areas that we work on: messaging, marketing and sales systems, and scalable offers. And of course, AI, has supercharged all three of those.
Well, yeah, we want to kind of go there now. And what I will just echo is I think what you said describes so many conversations I've had with coaches. And these are, the areas where they're feeling challenged or struggling, or it's like, "Oh, I really know I should do that, but I can't really get to that right now." And it can, when we start to think about it all at once, it can kind of get overwhelming. And so now and that really describes, I think, every coach we've ever talked to. So where should they start with their journey with AI to start to make some of these things more streamlined, more effective, maybe feel a little bit less overwhelmed with where they're in their business? And I know there's multiple things they can do, but let's kind of go through, like, what are the top priority areas where or opportunities to use AI to make this go even easier?
Yeah. Yeah. So I've got some great examples. And first, I'll share a tip that just kind of makes all of it easier and better. And it solves that issue of sometimes you just feel like the advice or the output that you're getting isn't quite, it's like either maybe not aligned with your style, or it's like, well, my business doesn't quite work that way, or that's not my voice in the email that it. And so one of the things I have my clients do, and I actually have a resource that I'll share at the end of our interview that can help anybody listening with this as well, is to create a document that turns AI, and this could be ChatGPT, it could be Claude or another one, but that has key context and information about your business, who you serve, how you serve them, what your offers are, characteristics of your ideal clients. And, there's some other pieces in there so that you don't always have to repeat the same stuff when you're talking to AI, because that's one of the number one mistakes, is that people don't give AI enough information or context about the background, what they're trying to do, what the goal is, and how the output will be used. And that's why the AI just kind of takes its best shot. And it's like rolling a 100-sided die. I was like a role-playing
Yeah,
D&D guy way back in middle school, right? And you had the 100-sided die, but imagine like rolling that 100-sided die and hoping that you land on the one or two things that actually work. Well, how about we narrow that down to like a 6-sided die where like 5 of them are amazing and perfect? Because that's kind of what you're doing when you hit enter on your AI. Is it's a little bit of a, you can probably notice you can go back to use the same prompt again and you'll get a different answer. Anyway, so to narrow it in, create this document with some of that information. And then there's some different ways you can use that. But the easy way to use it, if you're even on a free plan, is most AI prompts allow you to attach that document, and that now is considered in the prompt. So attach this about my business document, and then you can ask it, to help you with messaging, help you create content, help you make strategic decisions. And it knows what you're trying to do and how you're trying to do it. And now your output's going to be so much better. And of course, you can take that to another level by turning it into a custom GPT. And, that's a little more technical, and maybe we'll get into that. But if nothing else, just having that document readily available on your computer to attach to a prompt is going to make a huge difference in the quality of output that
Amazing suggestion, because I think that really speaks to that frustration that people have had when they're just sort of like dabbling with chat GPT, and it's like, write me an article about blah blah blah. Well, if that's all you tell it, it's always trying to fulfill your wish. Whatever you ask it, it will fulfill with whatever limited instructions. It doesn't say I need more information. It will just try to do it.
just do what it can. Yeah.
That's where the inconsistency comes from. And then we hear like, oh, well, I don't really want to use ChatGPT because I don't really align with the content. But to your point, if you're uploading this about me and about my business document where now you've trained it about your voice and just, everything that it really needs to know about your business, now you're going to get a much better output. And that's one of the things we
Absolutely.
found. Like some of our prompts are full page long that we copy and paste in. And then there's even the patience for someone to write those. So are you helping your clients create that so that, because of course that's, most of them probably don't know how to do that. You're helping to create that
Yeah, that's
document
one
for
of the
themselves?
yeah, that's
Yeah.
one of the first things. In fact, recently I put together a new workshop to help them do that, and some templates and resources, and that's what I'm going to actually share with your listeners. This is the first time I'll be putting this out, and this is like straight out of a client-based program that helps you construct that document, and then from there that opens up so many more possibilities of what we can do. So then I teach them about how to come up with good prompts, or share with them prompts that I have, and then you can start taking it to another level of things I know you help with your clients with as well, starting to add automations in there where, like something like Zapier or make.com is like doing things automatically with the assistance of AI, taking a transcript of a call with a client and then creating the summary thing and the action plan and sending it to them without you having that kind of thing. But yeah, one of the first things I do with them is we create that document.
Amazing. Well, what you just described there and some of the tools there, I'll use this podcast as an example. It used to take us hours, sometimes even weeks of back and forth with team to get a podcast edited and out. And I challenged the team at some point. I'm like, we got to get this down to 2 hours. And now with all of the tools and the sequences that you just talked about, we can get it down to under an hour. And we can have an edited episode with all of the marketing assets, the video clips, the text, and everything in less than an hour with the consistency. The consistency comes from what you were sharing earlier about having it well trained. That is important. You really have to, because it's like a child. It will just do things, but you need to, you gotta tell it very specifically what you want. And when you do that, man, is it cool.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
so messaging and content, obviously, and I think that's where a lot of people start is with that. But what other uses for AI have you found have made a really big impact in your business or your clients' businesses or both? Or like where should people be looking to utilize AI in various parts of their business to just really streamline things?
Yeah. So here's one of my favorite use cases. I think one of the reasons why it can be tough as an entrepreneur, coach, consultant to grow your business is there's so many different possibilities of what you could focus on. And you're, getting newsletters and seeing content saying you got to do this or you got to do that. And you're hearing your mastermind or your coach say things. And then so it's just like, well, okay, I have 2 hours today to work on business growth, and I need to be able to get the most out of that effort as possible. So what do I focus on to really get the biggest bang for my buck, given my goals and resources and what I'm trying to do? So with that business advisor document in place, you can go start a new prompt, attach that to the prompt so it already has all the background on your business. And this is what you do is you say, I need help prioritizing what to focus on in order to grow my business the fastest and easiest according to my goals. Here are the ideas I have so far, and I'd like you to go ahead and give me another 5 ideas that maybe I'm overlooking. And you know what I love doing is I love using voice, and I'll just start like throwing stuff. It's like, yeah, one thing I've been thinking about is I could do a collaboration with Chuck and we could put together a thing. And, I described that. And then or another thing is, I've been thinking about trying out live streaming on LinkedIn a little bit more. I'm also thinking about going on other people's podcasts as a way. And you might like throw in there, like, here's what I like about that idea. Here's what I'm worried about when it comes to that idea. And so you're just kind of like dumping it as if you're talking to a business advisor, right? And then when you get down to the bottom, and you hit enter on that prompt and it'll organize your thoughts for you. It does a really good job at taking my ramblings and going, okay, so here are the ideas you just listed. Here are 5 more ideas for you. You're like, great, thanks. And then the next prompt you do is you say, help me prioritize these using the following criteria. And and it could be whatever criteria you want, but here are 3 criteria that I suggest that work really well. You can say, best each of these according to ease. So how easy is this to put into place. So if it was like really resource and time intensive, it would be a low rating on ease. Yeah, if it aligns with your strengths, it would be a little higher on ease. And if it knows about you, it can gauge that, right?
Right. Yeah, it might be
So
easier for some than others, right?
yeah, sometimes my AI will see like, well, Jason, given your ADHD and what you've talked to me about your background in podcasting, and I recommend you go this direction. That other one might be a little frustrating for you. I'm like, that's a really good point, Ada. Thank you very much. And so ease is the first criteria. The second criteria is impact. What is the potential of this strategy to impact my most important goal? And so, you want to make sure you tell the AI, my goal right now is to bring in X amount of dollars over the next, or my goal right now is to get my clients from this number up to this number. So, you tell it what your goal is. So rate it according to its potential to impact my potential goals. We have ease, and we have impact, and then you have speed. Like, how fast could I see results with this? Because we all know there's some things like you could start, it might be easy and you start putting into action, but you might not see the fruits of the labor come in for 3 to 6 months. And that's okay. Like sometimes you need to do those things too. But if you're especially like, look, today cash flow is what's important, that speed is going to be important. And then you go, so assess these for me, and you hit enter, and it'll do a great job of saying, okay, here's what I would say you focus on first. Here are some high value things that would take a little more time. So, maybe think of these second. I would leave these on the back burner until later. And suddenly I go from feeling very overwhelmed to like, okay, and I'll pick a couple off of its top suggestions. And you can always check in with your own intuition. And of course, just because something went to the top, if you're like, nah, it doesn't mean you have to do it, right? But it can be very insightful to just have that reflected back to you and go like, okay, awesome, thank you. And then you say, okay, let's start with this one right here. Make me an action plan. What's my next step to do? And this is something that is just so helpful because I know that this is important because all the coaches and consultants that come to work with me, that's the number one thing they're asking me is like, Jason, I need your frameworks and experience and outside perspective to help me decide what should I be focusing on to best grow my business right now. Well, this is one way to get some help with that on your own with the help of whatever AI works best for you. So that's one of my favorite use cases is prioritize what to focus on right now to best grow your business according to your goals and resources.
What an amazing way to use this. And again, the more it knows about you and your business and what your priorities are, or what you're really trying to achieve, the better job it's going to be to do of assessing those. And yeah, I remember the last time you and I chatted about that, I gave that a try, and I gave it about 5 different things to look at in terms of criteria. It's amazing what it comes up with, right?
Yeah.
And I use of course, the latest advanced reasoning version of GPT, and it tells you like, I'm thinking about this and I'm considering that, and you can kind of see it verbally thinking, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just absolutely fascinating. And what are you finding in terms of the accuracy of its recommendations? So if you follow what it recommended for the plan and you go down the road with it, how right was it?
Yeah, so this is a really interesting question. Like, how right is it? Now, here's how I look at it. I've always had it, it makes a lot of sense to me. And really what it's doing is saving me time and mental energy of having to sit down and think about what would I rate this on ease, and and it's probably more accurate than me because it also has access. Like, it's very familiar with growth marketing, and that this is a technique that growth marketers in all kinds of companies use to figure out what should we focus our teams and resources at. So it knows, and so it probably has better information about the ease of things and the impact of things. And if I see something, I'm like, hey, why did you give that a lower score on impact? And it'll say, oh, well, here's why. And you can like, do you have an example of that? And so you can always question it if you want. But here's the bigger thing to realize is I think the right answer is taking action. The right answer is taking action on something that's in the realm of going to make a difference. So I think like no matter what, you're going to, just the fact that it gets you in motion and focused on something is going to be better for you. Like, just because that's one of the things I think where we struggle the most as entrepreneurs to make the progress we want is that we kick the can down the road, or we allow ourselves to get distracted. And so then inaction or lack of focus, whatever, like that's the enemy. The right answer is squashing that. And look, I'm not ashamed to say that even with 20 years of experience in business, I love having something reflect back to me, remove some of that mental load for me, and say like, hey, here's what you should consider. And I go like, yeah, awesome. Thanks for saving me the time and energy. That makes sense to me. Here we go. So that's how I look at it.
Yeah, ditto over here. I mean, it's definitely helped save me that over-analysis time that I would find
Yeah.
myself,
Yeah.
because
Analysis
it's like
paralysis.
you want to
Totally.
make the right decision, and
Yeah.
it's like, well, I don't know what decision to make, but it's a great even just to have it weigh in. And I find that guides I'm the one ultimately making the decision. It's not making the decisions for me, but I am taking into consideration its recommendations. So for sure. And speaking of taking action, because that is definitely important, we've teased a couple of times that you have a resource for our listeners. And I think that, this is, I mean, gosh, we could spend all day deep diving into any one of these processes.
Right.
And you and I have had other conversations about this, but, tell everybody about the free resource. And I'm going to make sure, by the way, if you're watching this on video, all of the links of everything Jason and I are talking about are right beneath this video. It's also in your show notes if you're listening to this on your mobile phone. Tell them, everybody, about this resource that they can go and
Okay.
get.
Yeah. So we talked about how the first thing I do with clients is help them put this business advisor document together. And so I did a newly updated version of a workshop for clients in my group program, walking them through that process, including templates of what to include and example instructions. And I'm going to make that available for free to people using this or listening to this today. If that resonates with you and you're like, I'd really like to give that a try, but you're wondering what to include in the document, what's the best way to go about it and exactly to use it. That's what this workshop is all about. And so if you go to jasonvanorden.com/AI, that will take you to a landing page where, you can enter your name and email, and I will send over to you access into my course client hub, directly access to that workshop along with the templates and tools that go with it so that you can give this a try yourself and see how it goes. And we didn't even talk about like how you could take that and use it in your messaging to come up with lead magnet ideas, or how you could use that in your sales follow-up and you're like, I don't know what to say to this person, and but I know I need to follow up with them. And there's so many great use cases it can help you with. So jasonvanorden.com/AI.
Yeah, and like I said, we could spend all day talking about this. And you listed off a few of those uses. By the way, I think the big reason to go and get that resource is if you've ever been frustrated with the inconsistency that you get from your questions of ChatGPT, this solves that problem first and foremost. But then, like, you just rattled off some of them, but like, what are the things that our listeners should be, now that they have that as the foundation, they can start to be looking at using AI for it? So you mentioned lead magnets and messaging and content creation, I think, anything, and follow-up. I think you mentioned follow-up there as well. Gosh, we could do an entire episode on each one of those
Right.
things.
Yeah. I mean, I use that business advisor sometimes to workshops, both paid and free, it's all give it that advisor information and maybe a past version of my workshop or an article of mine that I want to base it on. And it'll give me a first draft of what that, I'm like, hey, this is going to be an hour long and here are the goals of the workshop. And so I'm not starting from a blank page. It's like repurposing this and knows my business, like, hey, here's a great start. And then I can, either with it, work through it. So that's another example. And you could do that for, content I absolutely love. I mean, I love using it just if I'm any time during the day and maybe I'm just feeling flustered or whatever. And I'll just like stand up, go for a little walk and say, okay, here's what's on my mind. Here's what I'm trying to figure out in my business. So, and sometimes I feel better just like saying that stuff to it, but then you'll be surprised sometimes when you hit go and it'll be like, hey, it sounds like you might want to, and so it can help normalize what you're going through and then give you some useful ideas too, but that are aligned with you and your business. So just start playing around with it. But like you said, Chuck, this is going to make it so that the input or the output that you're getting from AI is so much better aligned and useful for what you need.
Fantastic. And like I said, like we could probably just do an entire full day workshop on all of these things, and maybe that's in the future. So Jason, thank you. This has been absolutely amazing, and I always love our conversations, and I think we share a fascination for AI and how it's not only helped us streamline our businesses, but how it can help with our clients' businesses as well. And I'm sure we're going to have many more conversations about this as we continue to navigate this and help people with it. Now, before I let you go, my listeners know that we have a bit of a theme here, and that is that our business only grows to the extent that we grow. And I always describe building a business over the last 20 plus years as being the best personal growth exercise a person could ever have. Part of my journey has been books, and more recently audiobooks, because with my attention, I don't read really well, but I do
Me
listen.
too. Me too.
Yeah, Audible's been great.
Yeah.
And I keep hinting, Audible, you should sponsor this show because I've shouted out to you many, many times. But maybe the AI will pick up on that and I'll get a phone call
Right.
from Audible. Who knows? What book would you recommend is either a next read or a must read for our listeners? Maybe it's one of your favorites or it's been impactful for you. What would you
Yeah.
recommend?
Well, since one of the themes here has been telling AI about yourself so it can align things more with who you are, how you show up, your strengths, and so forth. Here's, and I was just looking over here to see if I have it to grab real quick, but I'm not seeing it. Anyway, there's Strategic Coach, Dan Sullivan. Strategic Coach is an organization that he started. I took their program for a little while. Lots of great books also that Dan Sullivan has written with others. Anyway, this one is called Unique Ability 2.0, and it's based on his ideas. His team actually wrote and put the book together, and it's both a book and a process and a framework. So it's super useful. And what it helps you do is really zero in, like, how do you best show up in the world, create the greatest value in the world while also giving yourself energy and fulfillment. So it's really useful information to have no matter what. And then that's also additional information you can give to the AI so that it can, try to steer you towards that and away from things that are the antithesis of that. So a Unique Ability 2.0 is a high recommendation that I offer.
I'm going to put that one at the top of my list. Now, I've read a lot of Dan's books. In fact, I went through a Unique Abilities workshop live with him at one point, which was great at the time. But now sounds like this is more up to date with kind of where we're at now. And I love what you just said, because you can go through the framework, which I think everybody should do. But now you can use it with what you've been talking about in creating this foundational document that you can use for your business. Well, that's there's so many powerful uses for that. I love that recommendation. And I didn't even know that book existed, honestly. I mean, there's so many. I mean, the guy's a prolific writer for sure, and collaborator for sure. Jason, thank you. This has been amazing. I love everything. I think we even just scratched the surface, to be honest. I mean, it's a pretty big topic.
Yeah,
So,
right.
and I'm sure we'll be talking again, and everyone just kind of watch your email, watch the links, because there's going to definitely be more on this topic in the future. Any final advice, words of wisdom you want to leave our audience here with today?
Just this, that if you're feeling, I don't know, resistant, overwhelmed, or maybe you're intrigued, but you're like, I just don't have the time yet to play around with this AI stuff. Really, it's like, I would say, like, you can't afford not to. AI has saved me 4 to 8 hours a week, in recent months, and not to mention just the mental load that it lifts. And I know there are still plenty of ethical concerns and other things that we need to figure out with AI, but it's here to stay. It's a tool that can absolutely supercharge your business and your life. So find that bit of time to invest in it, because it will pay off for you. And ignoring it and not doing something about it is actually ultimately going to be costing you. I don't like being a fearmonger thing, but it's so much power there that that is a final thought I wanted to share.
Totally agree. And I think great advice to end this episode by, for sure. Jason, thank you. Very generous with your time and your information. And I know we're just barely scratching the surface too, but I think we've given people a really great place to start and a foundation. And to my audience, I want this time to have meant something useful for you and productive for you. So take something that you learned here today, or that you were reminded of here today. I want you to identify one thing, and I want you to go and do that thing today. And so maybe it's some project that you've put off, or maybe it's an AI tool that you purchased and haven't used yet, or maybe it's go get Jason's resource and start working on that foundational document, because that's really going to change your whole AI experience, and ultimately the output is going to be so much, much better. Whatever it is for you, go take action today. And I want you to remember that on your big mission to make a big impact in the world, obstacles come up, but there are no obstacles too big to be overcome. And you might be just one collaboration away from that big breakthrough you want in your business. And maybe Jason is that collaboration. And so in the meantime, Never, ever give up on your big dream, making that big impact. And the only way to fail is to quit. So keep moving forward, everybody. Thank you.